Welcome to episode 26 of the Messy Truths podcast. This is Mar coming to you from Montreal.
Hello, middle child. Nisha J. Kanagahage. Back from Kenya to Kanagahage. So, back hungry for some giraffes, but we'll talk about that later.
Oh, geez. Welcome back, Nisha. This is Azar reporting live from New York City. Haven't gone anywhere. Just New York City since God knows how long. I need to get the fuck on out of here. But that's actually the best segue for our show.
Yes.
What are we talking about today, ladies?
We are going to talk about something that is so close to my heart. I live for it. I almost didn't get married because I need to do it so much, which is travel.
Yes.
So, folks, I think all of us here on this panel are deeply, like, in need of getting out. We definitely are in need of getting out of our own countries. And Nisha just returned back from Kenya on a work trip.
Yes.
And we were having a discussion about travel adventures, travel stories. So this episode is designed to give you listeners some background on some of the places we visited, and also we'll provide you with some tips and some anecdotes about, traveling internationally.
You should look at it like a little bit like escapism, right? Like,
yes.
Yeah.
If you're not able to travel right now, maybe we can all kind of just travel mentally together on this episode of Messy Truth.
And
exactly.
That can be done with enhancements or without enhancements, whatever floats your boat.
True indeed.
So I should say karibu, which means welcome. That I learned in Swahili while I was in Kenya. So I learned 6 Swahili words while I was there. Very proud.
Caribou?
Caribou, not caribou that you be hunting up north and eating. Okay? Caribou, Karibu. They actually say Caribou Kenya, like welcome to Kenya. So
cool. Oh, I love that.
Very cool. That's
and
actually
did you know, Hakuna? Sorry, I'm cutting it. Did you know Hakuna Matata is Swahili? How long have we been watching these stupid cartoons?
They're not stupid.
Knew that a long time ago.
And I was like, I saw it.
They're not stupid indeed.
I know, I think they're stupid, but
we're the stupid ones.
You know, I hate everything anyways.
Maybe this is also another segment of the show where we talk about certain words that should not be pronounced in other countries, because what may seem normal here may be cuss words or insults or racial slurs in other places.
I'll swear.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Like what?
Like the time I was in Hong Kong and I walked into a store. And the color of the couch in Hong Kong was N brown. And you can figure out what N means. And I was like, WTF? What the fuck am I seeing?
No. Are you serious?
Was it like Negro brown, or
no.
it was like actually the N
No.
word?
Yeah. It was like, yes. In Hong Kong. I was like,
wow.
Oh my God.
But also, and I don't want to throw too much shade at Hong Kong because I got some close peeps who are HK. But the toothpaste is black faced. It's got a black face character with shiny bright teeth.
Yeah, this is one of the things that I think we're all going to have to educate the listeners on, is to travel with really low expectations on awareness about racial acceptance and diversity. Some countries are just not there yet, and they never will be. It'll take a long while for them. So, I don't know about you guys, but I go in with low standards, because you're talking about complaining about things that have been going on for centuries, and it's not my country. I don't live there. I don't plan to live there on a regular basis. And to be honest, if you want to continue with your racism, go ahead, do what you need to do. I'll be very selective about where I spend my money. But just go in with low expectations, because it's just not that kind of like social and racialized awareness. It just isn't in certain places.
My dad used to travel a lot for work, and one of the places he used to go to a lot was Guangzhou in China, which is where he dealt with a lot of manufacturing plants because he was in the fashion industry.
Is that like the former Portuguese colony?
I don't know.
It's got like
Maybe
this beautiful Pearl River, and I think it's the same place.
Maybe.
I'll check.
Yeah.
I'll check.
But I do know that he used to get pulled aside and taken pictures with no matter where he went, because this wasn't like a touristy kind of area in China where he would go. It was a very industrial area, and people used to come up to him and ask if they could take pictures with him because he wasn't Chinese or Asian. And my dad would gladly oblige, but I was just like, Dad, do you realize how highly racist that is? Like, why are you?
Yeah.
Why are you? But I mean, I guess for him it was like it was what it was. But that was something that he told me about that I was kind of like, dang, son, like we really are so completely unaware of each other's cultures and just we are so disconnected in a way. Even though our world is so small now with the internet, we are really still very disconnected.
And that's what I was going to say. Like, these are some of the things I encountered, but spending a significant amount of time in HK, I've realized that some of it is a little bit just lack of ignorance and exposure. I remember that, there's actually there's a lack of word for curly in Cantonese, and because they're not used to the texture. So whenever a friend of mine would describe my hair to their mom, they couldn't picture it. They would say Whoopi Goldberg hair, and I was like, nah, bro, I don't have locks on me. But I come to understand that it's also about exposure, and then what they import, for example, about other racialized folks is what they see on American downloaded television. And as you know, American racialized media is probably not the most positive. So, and you're right, Mar, Pearl River is in Guangzhou, and it's famous because it hits Macau, HK, and
I've been there. Guangzhou. It's actually a really beautiful place. Really lovely. I like that more than when I went to Beijing. I had the pleasure of going to Beijing. Oh, pleasure.
I liked Beijing.
Beijing was okay for me. I had an immediate problem as soon as first of all, let's backtrack. First of all, anyone going to China, you need a visa. That's the first thing. And you got to apply.
Where? For Americans and Canadians?
Americans and Canadians, you need a visa.
And Europeans? Everybody?
Everybody. They took my biometrics.
Yeah, that's the one thing. When you land in the airport, they will stare into your eyes, take a photo of you. That photo is then circulated across all of those, travel authorities in the country. So no matter where you go, you're being tracked.
Watched.
But yeah, so you need to apply for a visa at least up to a month in advance. And that will be your only way to get into the country. If you ever land in Beijing, if you're visiting Beijing, be prepared for pollution. That is a very real thing. You will be disgusted by the air quality. The one thing I noticed was that the trees didn't really look too green. They look very black.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they do not look like they are living a good life at all.
Remember photosynthesis, right? So they recycle air. Think of them as like the liver of nature. So they recycle air and put it back out. But if they don't have enough to recycle, then they're just going to shut down.
Yeah, it's really pretty bad air quality over there. So all the reports you see on the news, it's not a lie. It really is bad. Like can, if you have children, if you're raising them there, I've heard of from people who actually, live there and have raised their children there, and it's expected. Like asthma is an issue. So yeah, it's a problem.
I've also been to Beijing. I did the Great Wall of China, and I want to talk about my stupid Western self and how ignorant I was when I got introduced to a different type of toilet.
Oh, the
Oh,
lovely toilets in China, or
so
more
this
the
is
ancient parts of
oh,
China.
but they're also in Southeast Asia. They're also in other parts of the world. So there's ignorant little Nisha before she became open-minded world culture and so forth. And I go to the bathroom in Hong Kong and I'm like, yo, where's the bathroom? So I'm looking for this American standard. You flush the handle, you squat because you don't sit on public toilets. And I see this kind of hole in the ground and like what it's ceramic and so forth. And I come back out and I ask my ex, like, yo, can you come in here with me? Because I'm not sure I'm in the right bathroom, right? Because all the little gender signs are quite universal. I walked into the one that looked like a skirt, but and then he looks at me and he's like, "Yo, Niche, that's the bathroom." And I was like, "Oh no, this is not for me." But one
Yeah.
has to go. One has to go, so one does what one has to do. And I kept thinking of these stupid shit in my mind, like, what happens if my foot falls in? Like, what happens if my shoe gets pissed? Like, oh my God, it was ridiculous. But I came back with my ignorant self and researched that actually squatting and that type of toilet manner is actually much better for your body. It's like and
Absolutely.
they do it in
It
India
squats.
and all other parts. Yeah.
Actually, being Iranian, I have very strong squat game because I've been peeing and pooping in those toilets ever since I was a wee little child. And
There you go.
actually, the way that it's funny because my earliest recollection of this bathroom is the way that parents hold kids to take them to the bathroom because our legs are not wide enough to go on either
Ah,
side.
Yeah.
So my mom used to hike me up and hold my legs on top of her forearms, and I would do my business. And so like this is the earliest memory I have about going to the bathroom in
huh.
Iran. Now in Tehran, which is a much more, like advanced kind of city, there are also the whole European style toilets. I want to say European style because I'm pretty sure that's where they originated. And that was the influx of, I think, France was what changed
Mm-hmm,
Iran so
mm-hmm.
much. And so like there were those toilets also, but I remember in the bathrooms of our home we had those same holes in the floor that you're talking
Yeah.
about.
But
And
I
also, in addition to that, there's bidets everywhere, and not
oh yeah,
bidets
yeah,
in the
yeah.
sense just in terms of like having water. There's always water next to the toilets in Iran. Like you don't wipe with paper. I mean, there's paper, but you
Oh,
but you wash before you wipe. It's like you cannot go to a public bathroom or any bathroom without running water connected to any
Yeah.
interesting.
toilet.
And that's the same thing in China. You don't expect to find paper, don't expect to find soap or sanitizer. It just doesn't exist in certain places. So you should be proactive and carry
Stuff with you.
certain items with you. Yeah, bring your own soap, bring your own toilet paper, bring your own paper, hand paper, hand
Paper
towels, I
towels.
should say. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's a fun fact. In my fanny pack, I always have a pack of Kleenex and I always have hand sanitizer around my neck. So, no, I don't like going anywhere where me and the bathroom have an issue. So I'm always fully prepared for this. But I have to say, Oz, though, I'm like, for the listeners, Oz was a bit worried that she wouldn't have anything to contribute. But I'm glad to hear, like, I'm not glad about the colonial toilet because I felt bad that I didn't know. But I actually was like, and I have to admit, I was like, nah, man, I ain't doing all this. For a long time, I had to consider what I was doing. But then I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm down, whatever. And then I went to Japan. Japan is the epitome of best toilet experience ever.
Just
Tell us
let's
more.
be clear that China does have actual modern day toilets. Let's
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah,
we
yeah,
don't
yeah,
want
yeah.
to give this impression that you're only going to be like pooping and squatting and
No,
peeing
but I
into
think it's
holes and
good for
whatnot.
you. It's good for you.
You're going to find both. It's just that in certain places, yes, there are still hole in the grounds that you need to do your business in. But carry on with Japan. Yes.
Oh, Japan toilets. Once you go Japan, you can never go back. Like, I swear to God. Japan has, Japan is a dream for water drinkers. You can go anywhere in Japan and find the most immaculate toilets in the big city. They will
I'm
sing to
sorry.
you. Oh,
Water
yes.
drinkers and toilets.
Because
You need to make this
okay.
connection
So
somewhere.
I'm a traveler who's very sketchy about bathrooms. I have a pet peeve against public bathrooms in
Hmm.
particular. This is a big travel thing for me. When I lived in England, when I traveled to England, I map out the bathrooms that I consider acceptable to go to if I'm on the go because England has some nasty, funky European toilets where people are just nasty. And I'll tell you why. Because the toilets are deep in England. So if they take a shat, the stain is disgusting to me.
Oh my
Oh
It's
god,
disgusting.
no.
It's like a bad underwear.
that's disgusting.
It's disgusting to me.
And their
Oh
flush is
So
a
my
little
god.
bit different sometimes, right?
exactly. And it's like a
Yeah.
deep flush, like you pull the thing so
Yeah.
and so when I go to London, I'm always like, okay, here's your parameter niche. Where's the best toilet? I even thought about making an app out of this. Best toilets in London because it's a trauma thing for me. But then you go to Japan. And Japan has they've combined Asia and bidets in this magical toilet experience. Not every part of Japan, but cleanliness is a really big thing in Japan. So when I got to Japan, the toilet self-clean. Yo, I watched the bitch self-clean itself. I was like, oh, I like this. You press the button and they show you how to go to the bathroom. There's big signs up in English, right? They tell you not to sit on it. They tell you not to squat. It's really funny. The toilet cleans itself. I was like, huh, you're inviting my bum. I like that. So then when you're sitting there in your hotel, not in public bathrooms, I still don't do public things. Um, you can play music while you're sitting on the toilet.
Oh, I love
And
this.
there's a seat warmer. It makes your bum
Oh my
toasty.
Oh, it's beautiful.
god.
Yes. But then, ladies, there is the various spraying powers after the toilet.
I
So
love it.
so you have to prepare yourself for this, viewers, because when you press the spray, whether it's in the vaginal area or the anus area, it's not just a little, it's a big fire hose spurt. And you can imagine me jumping off the toilet saying, yo, why you up in my cootie for? But I was on trains in Japan. I went out to Mi, which is the south of Japan. The standard of the toilet made my heart skipped a beat. I never not drank water. So the reason is I don't drink a lot of water when I'm
Oh, I see what you're
traveling
saying.
is
It's because
because
there's no
I don't
toilets.
know what access to toilet I'll have. So I'm always
Right.
like, okay, am I going to drink? Am I
That's
not going to
fair.
drink? But
I can understand
Japan,
that.
oh man, I had the best water game in Japan because I was never worried about the toilet. So, as you know, my husband is Japanese. He has told me clearly when we buy a house, we are bringing a toilet from Japan for our house.
That's such a great idea. I love that. I mean,
Yeah.
I would love to go to Japan one day. I've never been there, so
Yeah.
I would love to go
That's
and
on my
experience the
that's on my
toilets.
list too. I'd love to go to Tokyo. That's like on the
Yeah.
bucket list for sure. But you mentioned London, Nisha, and I got to tell you, I've only been once, and I will never forget it because through the power of my partner, I had like the full English experience. You know how they call, the
Yes.
breakfast there full English?
A
It was
full
the full
English.
English experience. It really was
Great.
because we flew over. It was early morning, didn't have the ability to check into the room that we booked at the hotel because it was much too early, of course. But we still managed to get a room, although it had two twin beds.
That's a British
We made
thing.
it work. We made it work. But what was really cool was going to London was so great because I got an opportunity to go to an English football game, Premier League
Mm.
game. I
Oh,
got
you
the
mean a
opportunity.
wildlife.
Oh, it was crazy. It was like it really was the full English experience. Football game with Chelsea and Tottenham, Chelsea versus Tottenham. None of the teams I support, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And then we actually went over there when it was Notting Hill Festival, and
Oh,
Notting Hill, for those who don't know, is basically London's Caravana.
And it's wild. It's like old school Caravana. Make it right, Mar.
It
It's
is.
old school
It
Caravana.
is. There was no, like, I didn't see that many gates up. There were there were so many
Nothing.
people. And I'm not the type of person who likes crowds. I really try to like avoid them as much as possible. But I drank so much I was just like, fuck it. Let's just do this. You only live once. And I
Yeah.
overcame that anxiety, had a ton of amazing food, was dancing in the crowd. It was just insane. And shout out to the Afro Caribbean folks over in the UK because I
Oh.
absolutely love y'all. It's like a whole other different kind of culture over there. It's just great.
Yeah. Like shout out
The
to our
music,
guests, right?
yeah, the music is just different. It's just, and
The
I
whole
was a little
vibe.
worried about the food too. No, the food was dope. It was dope all around. Amazing Chinese food, amazing Caribbean food. And I did partake in a few full English breakfasts, and that was
Yeah.
pretty cool too. And it was just great. It really was. Beautiful, awesome pubs, really nice bars
Oh
around
yeah.
there. The whole culture is just, it's amazing. And that was just on one trip. So I'm
Yep.
dying to go back, and I don't know when that will be, but I'm really looking forward to going back.
You know, London is my secret lover. I lived there for almost a decade, and I spent 10 hours on my way back from Kenya. And I was like, okay, I need to get Victoria Sponge. I need to have a pint. I need to have fish and chips. I had a whole list of things that I had to do in the 10 hours. And thank God there's a WH Smith's and a Tesco in the airport because I was living my best life in that airport life, being in London. It felt good. It felt like being home. I know I shouldn't say it on air because, you know, my home is where my husband is, but man, London, you're a good lover. Like London seduces me every time. As soon as I'm there, it's like I feel settled. I feel settled. It's such a deep part of like my adulthood. And but I don't like the bathrooms at all. Speaking of food though, Mar, you mentioned food. I have to say, London has probably the most or delicious Caribbean food outside of one's home. Like the food is on point. It's on point. I really enjoyed the
Canada's still
food.
the best in that department
No,
outside
I
of the
doubt that.
Caribbean. Yeah.
No, I don't
Yeah.
know about that.
She's
But
like, yeah.
I want to talk about food because we all three of us like food. Actually, while I was away, Oz and Mar talked undoubtedly about food in the chat, and that's what I would
We
wake up
did?
to. Yeah, yeah.
We were
Oh, I
talking
have
about
to eat
keto.
this. Yeah, keto food.
Oh,
I have to
right.
eat this.
Right.
Da, 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 da. And I woke up and I had the pleasure of enjoying Swahili food when I was in
Oh,
Kenya.
I'd love to hear about
So
this.
you would, because it's very similar to Iranian food. So for those of you who don't remember, Oz is Iranian, and whenever Mar and I get to see her and go to see all her aunties and the baba, we get some kick-ass Iranian food, like some food I'm like, yo, I'm good. I'm in my element.
It's been a few years for me. I've been deprived, so
I agree.
We'll
But
make it
like
right.
yeah.
the rice with the saffron and the kebab, and oh my God, like I just remember the last time we
The
were all
crunchy
together.
bottom.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Tadig. Yep.
So it's
Oh.
there's things that are similar to that, Oz, in Kenya. So Kenya is a very interesting little place because it also has a lot of East Indians, right?
Mm.
Whether they're in Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya. And you can see the mix up in the food, right? So Swahili food, for example, was ugali. Ugali is similar for those of you from West Africa, like fufu. It's like pounded yam. It's very heavy, but they have kebabs. And I was like, oh, I'm in my element, yo. They're small, they're protein. That's a plus plus for Nisha. Small and protein, we're good. But ironically, they're wrapped in a fried egg, but you don't see
Oh,
it. So it was really good.
interesting.
Yeah, I had
Really?
fried. Yeah, it was really, yo, I brought them home. I just finished it this week.
It's protein on protein.
That's what I'm
Protein on
saying. It
protein.
was made just for me. Then they had something called fried cassava. Now, normally Mar will tell you cassava you use in your soups. You thicken them up, you use them in the winter. A lot of Caribbean folks eat cassava. They turned it into like a dessert. It looked like a churro, a big fat churro.
Oh.
And it
Oh, that
has a
sounds
little bit of
good.
coconut in it. But it's very heavy for me, but it's so good. They also have something called greens. It's like spinach, but on taken to a whole new level of spinach. But my favorite was they also have chapati, which I was like, that's totally the Indians in there just living their best life. But Mumbazi and Swahili tea. Oh, Mumbazis, for those of you who like fritters, who know the Caribbean, like fritters, think of a fritter, but it's empty. So it's like a thin fritter, like there's nothing in it. Normally, a fritter is a thick dough, right, that you fried, but Mumbazis are air filled. So yeah, they're just air filled. They're very thin, very lightly coconut and cinnamon. You take it with your Swahili tea, which is made of ginger and carmine and all these spices. No milk, best meals ever. I was like, yeah, I could get down with Kenyan food and Swahili food. I was like, yeah, asante sana. That means thank you. I was like, yeah, we're good. We're good.
So
The food
would
was
that
good.
be on your top food places in the world? Would you say that?
Oh, top food places in the world. Like places that I crave to get good food.
What city for you girls, or what city or town or just country really knocks it out of the park as far as
Like
food
in terms
goes?
of like, do we have a criteria or is it just food?
Just
In terms
food,
of where
man.
we've been,
Yeah, where you've
Okay,
been,
so
yeah.
I would love to contribute to this conversation because I went to these two countries when I was 11 years old and I can still taste the food. And I think that that is very indicative.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Thailand and Singapore. For me,
Singapore.
I
Yeah.
had chicken rice in Singapore, and to this day, I can smell it. I can taste it. I haven't had anything like it. I've come close. I've come close to at a restaurant here, actually, in New York City. And Thailand, I mean, wow, the freshest food I have ever eaten in my life, the most diverse food I've eaten in my life. And like, I think it was also the fact that it was one of the first experiences I had traveling at that age when you are kind of more aware and trying new things. And it was literally just the best. And it's one of the places that I plan to take my children to for them to experience that with me.
Singapore is so dope. And that is probably my top food place in the world as well. It is so delicious. For any seafood lovers, their signature dish in that country, for those of you that don't know, it's a city state. It's just one big ass city. There's no other parts to it. It's just Singapore.
Right.
Their signature dish is chili crab, and it's delicious. It's like this big ass crab, which if you go to the right place, you can pick your own crab. And basically, they put all of their delicious spices and ingredients and cook it up, and you are left with the crab in the center of the platter with all of like the juice in the platter. It's just sitting in there and it tastes so delicious. And there's bits of crab in the gravy as well. And you should order these like little soft buns that you can use to then dip in that sauce. And you get it with rice. You can get it, whatever. Usually you get it with rice, but the buns are really needed. I've seen like an absolute travesty in Singapore where some people literally don't even take advantage of the sauce. They like just get rid of the plate with the sauce. And it's like, are you crazy? That is gold. That is liquid gold.
Liquid gold.
Oh my gosh. But anyway, Singapore is amazing for food. It really is. The standard is like pretty high.
But fun fact about Singapore is that, and this was really funny for me because gum is illegal in Singapore.
Yeah.
Littering is a huge problem. Like, not huge problem.
You will be fined.
No,
you will be
in Singapore.
Beat.
Yep. More than fined. Littering is not acceptable.
Caned.
And gum, one of the funniest things that I saw was in Vice magazine years later after I visited Singapore. And it was an ad by Wrigley's. And it was literally just two words on just a blank page that said "fuck Singapore," and I thought that was the funniest thing I had ever seen in my life. But yeah, like there's been a lot of cases of kids who did some graffiti and got locked up, and like people from like the States or other countries who are going into places. And again, this is like you can't stress the importance of looking up the legalities of the countries that
yeah.
you're visiting. Like, you can't just go and assume that you could do what you
What
do
you
at home
want.
Yeah.
in other countries. There are so many
There's rules.
there's so many examples of this, but you should definitely do your homework outside of the visa. Look up what the rules and regulations and the laws are in that country before you go out there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
willy-nillying it.
And
There was a
Singapore's a
Canadian
pretty I was just going to
strict
say Singapore
country.
is it's a pretty strict place. Like, they do have the death penalty. You are really not allowed to bring drugs at all into that country.
Oh,
If
no.
you are
Do not
caught
play
in
games.
any capacity with drugs, your life is finished. Like, you will get the death penalty. They do execute people who are caught with drugs, caught selling drugs. I mean, don't get me wrong, drugs, we all know drugs still exist there. It's just a certain few that control that industry over there. But you do not want to be the one caught with any of those things. Oz, you are right. There are cases where people have been caned, they've been beaten publicly for vandalism. I remember that case in the 80s. There was this kid whose father
Who
was
got
working
caned.
over there who got caned. I didn't really feel sorry for him because it was like, what are you doing vandalizing vehicles anyway?
Right.
And it's just, Singapore's kind of a weird place in that it's a dictatorship, but you can still operate freely. And the gum is a very serious thing too, because I was actually at customs entering in the airport, and the woman in front of me with her child, the customs agent pointed to her and then pointed to the bowl that was on his desk, and he instructed her to put that gum in that bowl. So they do not play over there. You need to act right when you go over there. But man, what a wild place with prostitution that is literally legalized over there as well.
Yeah, but you know what? Your country can't save you. Your government can't save you. So don't go in there, reckless. Just a bad idea.
Just watch Locked Up Abroad and don't do it. Okay? No, for real. Like, nah, you're asking me about food, and so Singapore I was supposed to go to a conference in Singapore. It got canceled due to COVID this year. So I haven't had the pleasure, but I actually don't have like favorite food ever in a country. I do have to say that I'm always excited to find my favorite food in each of the countries I go to. So that's probably like my highlight. And I went to Kenya. There was a whole aisle with just Weetabix, and I was so excited and happy.
You had an orgasm.
Pictures of it. I felt like, because for those of you who don't know, I love cereal.
I'm pretty sure everybody knows at this point.
This one cereal though, Weetabix, and I pack it with me when I go.
I mean, I'm not mad at you, girl.
Yeah, because it's the one thing my stomach enjoys. And I even brought my own milk. Don't ask. So I get to.
I'm sorry. No. Yeah. Pause before we go on. How did you travel with milk? How did you travel?
It was
you brought a box of oat milk?
Oh, it's the oat milk.
Well, not
so it doesn't have to be refrigerated,
exactly.
Right? Okay.
But the thing is, you have to understand, you can't presume that you're going to have your dietary needs met when you're in some place you've never been. So I don't ever want to be in a position where I get any form of stomach problems, right? It will be bad for me. So yeah, I packed my oat milk and I packed my Weetabix, and then I went to the grocery store. So another dumb Nisha moment was underestimating how much media lies to us about how developed other countries are. Because Kenya is like a big ass LA. That's a big ass LA. Like maybe not. Maybe let me.
Well, you mean Nairobi?
Nairobi is a big ass LA. Like that's a big ass LA. So the traffic is bad. The food is good. I mean, there's not much there. Music acts. You're good. So I go to the grocery store and I turn the aisle and I see the yellow box, which is the Weetabix box, and I'm like, huh.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, and they have different flavors. So I brought those home with me. They even have traveler pack Weetabix. So I do, but I have to say some of the best food I've ever had. Believe it or not, Mexico City. Oh my God, the food was kicking in Mexico.
That's on the bucket list too.
Super cheap country to go to. Super good food. You can stay in five-star hotels for the price of one night downtown New York. And Zach and my husband and I had the most Barrera And you know what we did? We YouTubed it, like YouTubers who go there, vloggers who go there and eat. And then we went looking for the things we wanted. But the Barrera, it's like an oxtail soup. Ay, ay, ay. And potato tacos with spicy avocados on top, costing us $2 for a
Costs
whole
you
plate.
nothing, right? Nothing. And I
Nothing
will
to
tell
eat
you,
there.
I haven't been to Mexico City, but some of the best food I've had has been in Mexico,
Yeah.
Tulum, Mexico, to be specific. Again, shout out to my girl Kat who took me there on a trip. And literally, street tacos and fine dining places. Just
Yeah.
amazing food. Amazing. It was really fantastic. Some of the best food that I've had.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is so, yeah. So, but I think I want to talk about something that I think both of you brought up, the do's and don'ts when you go to other people's country. So, fun fact before I get into the do's and don'ts, I watch Border Security. I watch Locked Up Abroad. These are very important shows for me.
You watch a lot of TV, apparently.
And I'm busy, right?
You're bringing a lot of
And
information to us through your various TV watching.
I landed in Montreal and the sniffer dog comes near my bag and I'm like, yo, bro, there's nothing in there. So I don't know what you're doing. Get away from my bag because I ain't having border security come and talk to me. I'm not interested. And then I said, oh, I must tell Ozzy that I actually wasn't afraid of the dog because the dog rolled up on my bag and I was like, hey,
look at that.
I know what you do here. I know what your kind does. Your kind looks for bad things in people's bags.
Pick and choose your battles, Nisha. You can't get vexed with everything.
No. I'm not, listen, I'm not trying to talk to border control, period. They scare me tremendously. And that goes back to another fun trip that I had where I was searched naked. Yeah, I was strip searched twice.
Where?
So I was on my way to Israel for 6 weeks, and I have a particular last name, and I have a particular look, and I have a particular religion, and and it's no shade. I understand that Israel has experienced a number of attacks in planes, but when you're the person who is the recipient of that search, it's very hard to remember that there's a reason why people are doing this. And I remember going to Israel and I was away from my group because I left from England and my group left from Montreal, and I was strip searched and I was so embarrassed and I felt so degraded, but I kept telling myself like, yo, if anybody's on that plane is clear, it's me. So I'm good. And I kept trying to tell myself that because you can get really angry with that stuff when it happens to you. And they had checked me several times, like to the point where they actually took my carry-on luggage and only allowed me to have 5 items, including my passport. And when I did get and I arrived and I was talking to the hosts that were hosting me in Israel, they did call and they were like, this was over the top, but I got it. I get it because it's your security. It happens. But the air marshal was sitting next to me and I looked at him and I said, oh, you're good because you're sitting next to the safest person on the plane. And he was like, you've got a good sense of humor. I said, well, after you get strip searched 3 or 4 times, I mean, like, you've seen everything now. What's there more to like?
You're gonna love this body. You get what you get.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like, but Israel, like these are like you have to be prepared when you go into other countries because one thing that really freaked me out in Israel was the guns. So I'm Canadian. The 3 of us, like we've lived in Canada, we understand Canada. And I was in the grocery store chilling because Israel to me was like an eating heaven. There's no pork. So I'm like, oh, I'm good. I can eat everything in the grocery store. And homegirl bumped into me because she flung her gun over her shoulder. And I was like, nah, this is not for me. This is not for me. Because Israel
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
It was my fault. I should have never bumped into you, even though you're the one who bumped into me. But that's okay.
With your massive gun.
I was like, what if the gun had gone off and shot off my toe? This is the stupidities I'm thinking. But in Israel, they have mandatory service for their young folks at 16. They got to do mandatory. By the way, it's not just Israel. This mandatory service also happens in Korea for people who are interested.
It also happens in Iran for the men.
Iran for the men and
But
Singapore. Yeah.
can you imagine you strolling down the aisle and homegirl bumps into you and you realize you're not her you're bumping into, it's her gun, and she's younger
Damn,
than you?
son.
I was
That's
like,
wild.
and as a Canadian, I was like taken aback because we don't see guns like this. You go to the
Right.
airport, young people who are my nephew's age out there, like you can't even get into the airport without getting checked. It's the same thing in Kenya. Kenya checked our luggage 4 times. When you get on the plane, when you board, because Kenya has had a terrorist attack. So when you
Right.
board, you know, when you're at the gate sitting in the seats, just getting that last juice and you're plugging in your phone, Kenya checks your bags again there. Like
Dang.
it's crazy. They check you before you get in. So you can't even get to the Air Canada desk in Kenya. You got to get searched. Then you get to the desk, you got to get searched, and they take pictures of your face, facial recognition. And I'm getting, again, Nisha was getting annoyed. I was like, yo, it's hot, yo. It's hot. I have to keep taking my, because you know, when you pack your carry-on bag, you put
Oh, I
everything in
know.
its right place, blah, blah, blah. No, you want to open it up again. And you
Yeah.
can't
And they don't
take
put your shit
water.
back.
So normally when you get past security, you can buy yourself water, right? But because they don't allow liquids and you're going to get checked 2 more times,
Again.
you can't do the water. And once you leave the gate and go to the bathroom, you got to do it again. I was like, it was the probably one of the intense security process between Israel and Kenya that I've ever been in, ever.
I want to talk about this a little bit more because, I too am Muslim and have quite an interesting last name. Well, not since I got married and changed my name specifically for this reason. But I used to tell people it is actually random that I don't get searched versus random that I do get
Mm-hmm.
searched. And actually, my daughter was searched and it was very traumatizing for her.
Hmm.
I think Kiana was about like 7 or 8 years old when they pulled her aside and searched her. And that was disgusting to me. And I get it. I know that kids are also utilized in these situations. And this is something that my father and I used to talk about a lot. And this was one of those wake up moments where I was just like, oh, white people don't get this talk from their parents, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that I had talked to some of my other friends when I was like, well, my dad pulled me aside and told me, listen, comply. Do what they tell you to do. When you get to, TSA, if they want to search you, pleasantly comply. If a cop pulls you over, do not be combative.
Yeah.
Just let them get through it in the most polite manner you can, and we can figure it out on the other side. And I didn't realize that other people are not getting these talks
Yeah.
because this is not their reality. And so traveling has always been really burdensome for me because I literally get checked all the time. I only got searched once, strip searched. I did get down to my underwear, and this was in Iran, and it was really interesting because I had a certain piercing at the time, and I was traveling with my mom, and I was like, oh shit, I wasn't even worried about the Iranian security.
You're worried about mama. She about to find out where their piercing is.
Right? I was like, oh my God. And I was praying to Allah and everybody, whoever would hear me at that point. I was like, Jesus, please, please. Anyway, luckily it wasn't that bad. But that airport also in Iran, when you go into the Iranian airport, first of all, it's an Islamic Republic. Everybody's covered head to toe. And if you're going to countries that are ruled by Islam, you gotta cover.
Yeah.
Like maybe not
Suck
all
it
of
up,
them,
Buttercup.
but the Islamic, you
Yeah.
gotta cover. So covered from head to toe, but they are so strict, especially, and I don't even know what they call them, but they're like the ones who implement and make sure that you're following the religious rules.
Oh, like the
So like,
laws. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So, and the women, oh Lord, when I tell you, like, they do not play. They are scary as fuck.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of military with guns around everywhere that you go. And they are so strict and so scary. It's like one of the scariest things. And even when you're in the country, there's like two different sets of law. There's like the police, and then there's these Islamic police people who come and check
Sharia.
your hijab, or like,
Yeah.
like it's really, really wild. And so traveling to that, like, I always tell people, like, I really want to take my kids to Iran, but like, I don't want them to go in that state. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't like, I believe in religious freedom. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that
Yeah.
you should be imposed to do anything in any country. You can be respectful, you can abide by the laws without being imposed in terms of a religion, or like, just I
Mm-hmm.
just don't believe in that at all. Which
Yeah.
is why I don't think I want Kiana especially to be exposed to that kind of culture.
Not
Like,
yet. Not until, but yeah, I mean, I get you, Oz. It's hard. It's hard. I mean, I'll be heading back out to East Africa and I'll be going to places where shorts aren't welcome. So I'm like, oh, me and the son will be
Oh,
having a divorce. But, I have to be careful and I probably will
yeah,
have to wear hijab while I'm there. And you know what? If hijab is the difference between me and getting messed up, I'm okay. I'll hijab it up. I'm
yeah.
good.
right.
I'm
But you talk
okay.
about heat, you talk about being hot and
Yeah.
uncomfortable, and that's a reality in those countries. And like, if you're not used to it, you really gotta like
You
Sort it
gotta
prepare
out.
for
acclimate
that.
real quick.
Yeah.
Real
And
quick.
like,
Yeah.
and like the lack of air conditioning in taxi cabs and stuff, that you take these things for granted living in like a westernized country, or living in Europe or whatever. These things are very rare in some of these, especially third world countries. Um, and also, speaking of that, people travel to Dubai, and I wanted to touch on Dubai because you guys know that I lived there.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is, a lot of people go there, again, very ignorantly. Like, yes, Dubai is like this glorified place. You can absolutely wear bikinis on the beach, and you can, whatever, like, you can live that resort style lifestyle. But when you're on this public street and you're in front of the locals, you can't be kissing your man. You can't be
Yeah, no,
like
you're going to
showing
jail.
public displays of affection, and that's a reality. And you
Yeah.
better prepare for that before you go out there and find out the hard way.
And, and yeah, and to hear for the naysayers who might be like, "Oh, why can't I kiss in public?" There's a lot of reasons why, these things happen, and we're not here to judge their reasons for public displays. There's a lot of folks who don't do that in their life anyways, and if this is the way the country decides to handle their society, they evolve as they wish, and I'm a full believer in that. Like, every country's got to come to their own progress on their own terms. Some do it differently, and that's the thing. But I totally get it. I think, as you bring up the point about traveling as a woman, and that's a whole other level of security that you got to take in mind. And I'm not part of the LGBTQIA community, so I can't speak to it, but that's a whole another level of traveling that you have to consider. I know for myself, traveling as a Black female, I'm always smiling with border control. I don't care what border control. I want to be the happiest person ever with border control, because they're the person who are unless it's the Canadians, and the Canadians, I'm like, show me what you got. You can't keep me out of my own country. But everybody else, you'll get super, super nice, Nisha, because I was a victim of fraud in England when someone stole my identity when I left, and border control home office pulled me over, and I was like, nah, that's not for me.
That
Like,
ain't me,
what's
son.
happening? That's not this life. I had to, and it took me 2 years. I had to write the home office, get my, clear my name, do the work. And that's why, to me, I'm like, you want to search me? Go ahead. I don't care. I don't do things that I'm going to jail for. First of all, I would
Mm-hmm.
not survive in jail. So I'm not
Right. I'm
interested.
not going to jail.
But
You
secondly,
won't
and I
find me
get
there.
it, like, this is the reason that drove me to get a Nexus, Oz, was the random search. It drove me to get a
Right.
Nexus because I'm
Yeah.
like, look, you might as well just take my blood and biometrics, because I'm
Right.
getting tired of y'all just saying, oh, um, excuse me. Nah, like, no, you're just bothering me now.
Right.
And
Yeah.
as a
And
woman who travels by herself, the profile increases,
Mm-hmm.
right.
right?
And
Like,
and just imagine, as a woman traveling by yourself, though, as a male, like, Middle Eastern man, like, that
yeah.
is really rough. And my father had so many experiences where he would miss his second flight, like whatever his, the second leg of his travel, because he would get stuck in the States
Oh,
regularly. And so actually he got a lot of help from the Canadian government. They wrote a letter saying, this is one of our citizens, and you cannot continue treating him this way.
Good.
Because he was being harassed. At this point, it's harassment. You know,
Mhm.
it happens so often. And my father, who had just such a gentle demeanor and really tried to kind of appease everyone, because he was really going by the rules and trying to just make sure that there was no misunderstandings, because he realized and understood, you know, how that racial profiling affected him. It got to a point where he was like, yo, you're ruining my business.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you if I can't travel freely and I have nothing, you know, there's no reason for you to be treating me this way. Like, this is just no longer acceptable.
Well, I have a fun fact for traveling. The both of you will love this. I got discriminated based on losing weight. So this is
That's
another
a good
fun fact
problem
for,
to have.
I know, but
Explain.
it's
I
a
don't
pain
know.
in the
Explain.
Okay, so viewers,
Your
listeners, I
photo.
just say viewers. My
Oh, it's
photo.
your photo.
It's my
The
photo.
not so
Yeah.
matching
So
photo.
I have a 10-year passport because your girl loves to travel. I love to travel. And I was like, I ain't doing the 5-year thing. So within these 10 years, I'm on year 7 of my passport. Nisha decided she's just going to go and lose weight. Well, who told her to go do that? So I've had the pleasure of being stopped every single time, even by my own government, and asked, because you know, they ask you to take your mask off, and then they look and they look and they look and they look. And
Mhm.
then they're like, I said, do you want my biometrics? Here's my Nexus card. Because weight or not, your biometrics don't change.
Yeah.
This has happened to me on my way back from LA in 2018 when I first started to lose weight. The woman was like, huh, oh, are you sure you're Canadian? I wanted to slap the shit out of her and say, are you serious right now?
Oh,
Let me get on the
hell
flight.
no.
Leave me alone. Border control in Canada, you may want to consider changing your passport photo. So I said, oh, you know what? Maybe. So I called the Canadian government passport office and they're like, yeah, you're getting a lot of trouble. And I was like, you know, shit, Sherlock. And they were like, well, you can change your password photo. I was like, oh, great. So how do I redeem the picture? How do I get the money? They're like, no, you have to pay for it. I was like, well, no, no. Like, why should I have to pay for another 10-year passport because y'all have a problem with people losing weight?
It's not just the weight loss, it's just any kind of physical change that shows you look different from the photo in your passport. You will undergo that scrutiny. I went through the same thing, you know, when I big chopped and got all my hair cut off. My photo had me with chemically straightened hair. It was straight hair, whereas when I was traveling, I was sporting an afro, and I have had my afro searched uh in the US.
What?
Yes.
No.
Yes. When you go in the circular, what do you call that thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it does the whole like 360 a scan of your entire body. You got to raise your arms and so forth.
Yes.
And I guess because I had a watch on, it went off. But then I went through again and they were checking and I was fine, but they still had to make sure that everything was okay. And
Hold on, girl. Did they go through your hair?
The woman apologized and she was like, I'm sorry I have to do this, but I need to check the bottom of your hair where it was on the side where your watch was. So she like had to go through just a little bit in the back and make sure that there was no like battery or any sort of explosives in my fro. It was the most ridiculous thing.
No, but this happened in Barbados to me. So I'm not surprised.
No matter where you go. But I'm just saying that experience for me has been in the US. And I have had also the experience of having the alarm or having the security take me aside to search me because of underwires in the bra. Just listeners, do not wear underwire bras. All the women out there, do not wear underwire bras when you're traveling. Forget it. It is not worth the hassle.
Or get a Nexus.
It doesn't matter if you have Nexus. I have Nexus and I still get searched. It's not random. It is not random at all. It just isn't. I have Nexus and I've gone through the process of like fingerprints and all these things, and it still doesn't matter. I still get randomly taken aside.
And the worst thing about it is I get it. Like when I was in Barbados, I wrapped my head, and we were coming back from our honeymoon, and this guy went to touch my head, and my husband said, "You're not touching my wife. That's a Muslim woman. You better go get yourself a homie, a girl." And the guy looked at my husband. He was like, "No, I'm not joking. You ask a woman before you touch her. And secondly, you should be having a female touch a female." So that was a big deal. But no, I'm with you, so no, viewers, listeners, I'm not changing my passport photo. I am very proud of the weight I lost. But the Kenyan authorities were really funny. They were like, "Oh, your smile is still the same." And I was like, "Am I smiling in my passport photo?" Because those
you're
are
not
mug
allowed to
shots.
smile. You're not allowed
Yeah,
to smile.
you're not
on your
allowed. But I
passport
guess I
photos.
still have this look about me. But no, I refuse to change my passport photo until it's time, unless the Canadian government is listening and wants to offer to pay for my passport. But no, I will not
I'm
change
not
it.
even mad at that.
No. So, ladies, as we wrap up, where are the places we want to go next?
I want to go to Jamaica.
Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful.
Literally, Jamaica and Australia are the two places that I really want to go to.
So kangaroos and jerk chicken.
Yes, pretty much. That's exactly why I want to go.
Screw kangaroos.
Exactly.
It's all about the koalas.
There you go.
It's all about the
Cute
koalas.
too. They're cute.
Koalas.
I've done Brisbane on the way over to New Zealand. Beautiful. Absolutely stunning. New Zealand is stunning. It's just gorgeous. Had an amazing time in both places.
And Lord of the Rings was filmed there. FYI.
Yes, you can actually do a whole tour of, like, they have an entire tourist attraction around the Hobbit. So you can do that if you want to. Didn't interest me either, so I never went.
Oh, I'm a sci-fi fan.
Yes.
Fantasy.
Bucket list, there's so many places. I want to go to Ghana. I want to go to South Africa. I did want to go to Ethiopia, but things are a little tough over there right now, so not
Maybe
sure
take
that's
a little
place.
bit of break from there.
Fiji.
Oh yes.
I want to
Madagascar. I want to see all those ringtail lemurs.
They're cute.
And I want to do like a whole Caribbean tour. A whole Caribbean tour.
Take me with you, please.
I want to island hop and just go from place to place. Those are the places on my list.
I'm going with you.
We want to be rich bitches then. That's what we're saying. We want to be rich bitches.
Oh no, we're gonna be rich bitches.
Oh, okay,
we're
rich. Okay.
We're gonna be rich bitches.
We're gonna be.
We are rich already. We're just waiting for the actual influx of the cash to come.
I'm a avid traveler. I honestly believe that when my soul was created, it was decided to create to travel. When I got married, I told my husband, like, I'm a serious wanderlust. So you really got to lock it down. Like, it's a serious thing for me. The moment I'm free,
it's a need.
It's unbelievable how much I can totally easily fit into any place I'm at.
So what's on the list?
And I love that you travel alone. I got to just add that I definitely am not like a loner. I don't like to do things by myself, which is why I'm going with Mar on
the Caribbean tour.
But I do really admire that in you, Niche, that you just get up and go and do your own thing.
Well, it happened because of Jill Scott.
Right.
So
all
my
that
mother,
training from going to all of her concerts.
No, my mother's, there was one magical unicorn concert I missed.
Yes, you told us, the one in Philly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And my mom scared me into going alone. And since then, now I will never miss an opportunity to do something I want to do. I don't care. I'll figure it out. So the next place, going to Kenya was beautiful. I really have to say,
wait. The warden scared you out of going alone to the Jill Scott concert.
Yeah.
You said before that you did not go and you were upset about that. So she scared you out
because my
of
mother
going.
scared me out of it.
She was like, don't go by yourself.
She put my fear in there. That will never happen again.
Okay.
But I have to say, Kenya was magical. Watching a lion eat a giraffe was quite the experience. Shout out to Ken too,
right?
That's really something.
Who was eating his giraffe. I mean, better giraffe than me. So I'm okay with that. And fun fact, impalas, one male impala has 50 women under their watch. and they
Damn.
fight every 5 months to see who's going to take over the women. But anyways, fun facts about Kenya. The next places I'd like to go, I'm seriously, I will be, you know, when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I got to get to India. It's like an ancestral home. My dad's
Yeah.
Indian.
Wait, you haven't been?
Not yet. Not
Oh my
yet.
goodness.
And it's one of like, for those of you who know anything about religion, I'm a bit of a Shiva nerd. I really like the god Shiva. I think he's cool and he dances on ignorance, and I don't know, I just bit
Do
religious
you
nerdy.
do you need a visa to go there? Because U.S.
Uh,
citizens need a visa to go to India.
well,
But
you
I'm just
know,
wondering if do you
I
know if
wonder if
Canadians do?
Canadians, no, I don't know, but we'll find out. We'll find out. Of
Okay.
course, I have to go
Do
to
some
Ghana
research.
because of my other better half.
Yeah.
You know, I want to go to, let's see, Ghana. Oh, Salvador, Brazil. It is actually one of
Mm.
the docking ports of when enslaved Black folks were taken from the Caribbean. One of the stops besides taken from Africa. So one of the stops is the Caribbeans, but the West Africans were also taken to this town called Salvador in Brazil. And you can still see like African culture almost in its origins in this town. It's a very, very
Mm.
deep town. It calls to me. And I have a friend out there now who's like, come, come. And you know, Brazil is wilding out with Rio de Janeiro and like, come on. I watched the Bird movie. So
The bird movie,
yeah,
Rio.
Rio. I really like that movie though, that cartoon movie.
See, so cartoons don't suck. Animation is good.
By the way, shout out to Turning Red. I just
Oh my
finished
god, I can't
watching
wait to
that
watch it.
one.
Don't tell me anything
It
about
was
it. I can't
good.
wait to
It
watch
was
it.
culturally appropriate, which is very important to me. So I recommend it to your children. I really liked it. And
They already
again,
watched it.
culturally appropriate. That's what I like. But I have to say, I got to go back to the oldies but the goodies. Like I really miss California, San Diego. I
Oh,
really
Yeah.
miss
love the
London.
West Coast.
And I really, one of the best places I've ever been, shout out to St. Lucia. Oh my God. St.
Uh,
Lucia. What a
yeah.
place.
I want
St.
to do
Lucia
the
is
whole
like,
tour. St. Lucia,
it's,
Antigua,
yeah.
all of those places. I just want to
I agree
go
St.
with you.
from island to island. That's it.
St. Lucia
I'll
is
be
like the
there.
Vegas of the Caribbean. What goes down there, nobody knows, yo. So you do you.
So, for our listeners, if you're interested in traveling, there are countries out there right now that are totally open. Mexico is one of them.
Yeah.
Norway is one of them.
Kenya.
I didn't see Kenya on the list.
Yeah, you don't need anything to get in.
You don't need
Oh,
anything.
no, you
But
need a
are they
COVID test.
open? But are they
Yes.
open? That's the question.
Yes, they're
Okay.
open. You need a COVID test.
Jordan, Iceland, Romania might be a little too close to Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah, maybe right now we should stay
Hold
away
off
from
on that for a little
region.
bit, but yeah,
Yep.
just be easy on that. And Ireland, which I have visited 3 times.
Yeah, beautiful.
Beautiful country. If you ever get a chance to go there, I highly recommend it. I would also recommend that you, as they say, hire a car, meaning rent a car, so you can travel around and go around the country,
It's
because
beautiful.
you can go from one end of the country to, like, from east to west, west to east in like a day.
Yeah.
Oh my
It's
gosh,
not
that's so
it's
great.
not a very long distance, but nevertheless, the first time I went, I had the opportunity to go. I flew into Dublin, and then we hired a car, and then we went to the center in another county in the country, and then we went west to Donegal, and then drove around the north into Northern Ireland. Yes, they are still separate. The Republic and Northern Ireland, they are still separate. But Northern Ireland was dope. Belfast, what a great place. It's just
Absolutely.
amazing, that city. Incredible. Lots of rich culture and history there. A lot of education about the Troubles. But just really incredible. I had an amazing time there. And then I had the chance to go back 2 more times, and I do not regret it at all. And also, listeners, if you do make it to London, definitely hop on the speed train and go to Paris.
Oh, definitely.
It's
Paris is
like
beautiful.
a couple hours just to get from one end to
Are
the
you
other.
telling
You're
people to
going
go
through
to
this.
Paris?
Yes, because if you go to London, you can take the speed train through the English Channel. Don't beef about it. Yes, the Eurostar, and you can hop on over to Paris and explore in like, you know, a mere
You can
few
explore
hours.
what Montreal's trying to be and never will be.
But I'd like to add to please stay away from Germany, especially if you're a person of color. I'm sorry, maybe it's changed, but in the 80s, we were kicked off of a bus and kicked out of a restaurant.
Oh, no.
So maybe not a good idea.
I was in Dusseldorf a few years ago, and I was okay.
And you were cool?
Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully times have changed.
Yeah.
Let's just
and there are some countries that are now you do have other people of other ethnicities living there. I saw Black folks in Ireland. It is culturally mixed in certain places, so don't be alarmed. Just the Irish people it takes them a bit of time to warm up to you, but once a few pints of Guinness or Murphy's are in them, they're grand. They're really, really grand. And
we all become one with a little bit of liquor in our system.
Yes,
what you're saying.
And just accept that Paris is they got issues there, as all of France does. But go in, again, like we said from the beginning of the show, have low expectations.
Right. And these are just our experiences. We'd love to hear from you and where you've been, you know, the do's and don'ts, the best and worst places. Please share with us in our comments, and please take the time to rate our show on whatever platform you listen to it on, and share it with your friends. We appreciate it. All the love and the support.
And please check out our website. We launched a website recently, messytruthspodcast.com. It's still in progress, but we will be, you know, hacking it a little bit in the weeks to come. So, yeah. But thank you.
Right,
thanks
ladies.
for listening.
Thank you, everybody.
And we'll catch
enjoy
you next
your travels. Week. Be safe. Have a passport.
Yes, indeed. Peace, y'all.
Take care.